Our next lesson is about solving absolute value equations. So first of all, I'm going to give a little definition of absolute value. You probably have heard it before, but the absolute value of a number is that number's distance from zero. So if you think of a number line, and you have 0, 1, 2, -1, -2. If I want to find the absolute value of +2, if I look at my number line, I'll find that +2 is exactly 2 spaces from 0. So the answer for that would be 2. And the absolute value of -2, it is also 2 spaces from 0, so that's also going to be 2. In fact, you'll find that whatever is in your absolute value bars is going to become positive. So, few more little problems. I would like you to try these ones on your own. So go ahead and try these two. So then, the absolute value of -5 is going to be +5. The absolute value of 8 is actually still going to be positive. It'll be 8. One other thing you might see occasionally with absolute values is you might see something like negative absolute value of 3. So for that, what you're going to do is you're going to take the absolute value of 3, which is 3, then you're going to add your negative, so the answer is going to be -3. Another one that's a little bit interesting is if you have the negative absolute value of -3, again, you do the absolute value of -3, that's going to give you 3, so you're going to finally, in the end, have -3. So you're actually not going to be tested on this stuff. The stuff you will be tested on is solving equations that have absolute value. So we'll go through some examples. And for all of these examples, I want you to solve for x. So my first example, I have absolute value of x equals 10. In this case, the stuff in the bars, absolute value bars, the x can either be x equals 10, or it can be x equals -10. Both of those answers are acceptable. They will both work. So that's my answer. However, I also want you to check your answers, please. So when you check it, for x is equal to 10, you substitute in to the x, you put in 10. The absolute value of 10 is just going to give you 10. The next one, the absolute x equals -10, the absolute value of -10 is also going to be 10. So both of those check out. They will give you what you started with. So the next one, we have the absolute value of x minus 4 equals 5. For this one, you are also going to split it up. The reason that we split this is because the stuff inside of the absolute value bars can either be 5, or it can also be -5. So both of those are the possible answers. So then from there, we are going to solve those out. When you solve, for each of these, you add 4 to both sides. One of them you get x equals 9. The other one you get x equals -1. Once again, please check. So when you check these, for x equals 9, you substitute in 9 for x. You get the absolute value of 9 minus 4. That gives you the absolute value of 5, which is also 5. So that one checks out. When you substitute in -1, you get -1 minus absolute value of -1 minus 4. That gives you the absolute value of -5, which luckily is also 5. So that one checks out too. So both of those are okay answers. So for this problem, I would like you to pause and try it on your own, please. So for this, we are going to start by breaking this up into 2x minus 9 equals 15, and 2x minus 9 equals negative 15. So now we have to split both of those up. Now we have to solve each of those equations. The first one, I'm going to be adding 9 to both sides. That gives me 2x equals 24, which gives me x equals 12. The second one, once again, I'm adding 9 to both sides. I get 2x equals negative 6. And then dividing both sides by 2, I get x equals negative 3. So then it's really important that you check when we get to the more complicated ones. So take your original equation and substitute in each of these. So my original equation, I'm going to substitute in x equals 12. I get 2 times 12 minus 9, absolute value of that, equals 15. That gives me 24 minus 9. And we know that 24 minus 9 is 15. We know that the absolute value of 15 is 15, so that one works. For the next one, I'm going to take original equation. I'm going to substitute in negative 3 for x. When I do that, I get the absolute value of negative 6 minus 9. That's going to give me the absolute value of negative 15, which is 15, so that one also checks out. Those are okay answers for both. These two are the slightly harder types. So what I'm going to do for the first one is I need to start by getting the absolute value bars by themselves. So get by itself. And I do that by adding 16 to both sides. So on the left side, when I add 16, actually the 16 cancels out. So then now I'm going to have the absolute value of 4x plus 12 equals 28. From here, feel free to pause and try the rest on your own. It's the same as the previous two. So you're going to split this up into two. One of them is 4x plus 12 equals 28. The other is 4x plus 12 equals negative 28. When you solve this one out, you get x equals 4. When you solve this one out, you get x equals negative 10. So now I want you to check your answer. Check your answer using the original equation. So we get 4 times 4 plus 12, absolute value of that, minus 16 equals 12. From there, you are going to simplify this out. You get 16 plus 12 minus 16. We want this to equal 12. That gives me 28, absolute value of 28 minus 16 equals 12. Or 28 minus 16 is 12. This is a true statement, so I'm good on that one. Do the same thing for x equals negative 10. We get 4 times negative 10 plus 12 minus 16 equals 12. So you are going to work this out. You want it to equal 12 in the end. We end up getting negative, absolute value of negative 28 minus 16 is 12. That gives us 28 minus 16 is 12. This is an absolutely true statement, so we are good there. So then the last problem, this one's the trickiest one, because there's something weird, but make sure you check your answers. We split this up into 4x plus 10 equals 6x, and 4x plus 10 is equal to negative 6x. So solve this out using what you know about solving equations. That gives us 10 equals 2x, or x equals 5. For this one, I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. That gives me 10 equals negative 10x, or x equals negative 1. So let's go ahead and check our answer out and make sure we got it. I'm going to start with x equals 5. So substitute that into your original equation. We get 4 times 5 plus 10 equals 6 times 5. Or 20, absolute value of 20 plus 10 equals 30. That gives us the absolute value of 30 is 30, which is true. For the second one, you're going to check it the same way, but using negative 1 now. I have 4 times negative 1 plus 10 equals 6 times negative 1. That gives me negative 4 plus 10. Absolute value of that equals -6. You might see something strange already. You can't have an absolute value equal to a negative, but we'll try it. This gives me absolute value of 6 is -6. This is not true. So we say that x is -1 is an extraneous solution. So my only answer for this one is x equals 5.